Welcome or welcome back to the channel. My name is Sarah and I am going to be fully honest with you right now. I'm going to try and do this very quickly, primarily because I haven't eaten since 9:30 and it is currently 3 o'clock. I'm hungry. Not only am I hungry, I'm like extra hungry. I went to the doctor and had blood pulled. I went to the gym and exercised very hard, which is why I probably look like I'm sweating, maybe still. And so I'm hungry, so we're going to try to do this quickly. And in all honesty, I actually have a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. I don't know why I'm talking to you about this. So, last week, as I mentioned, I did go sit for a tattoo, which is still kind of healing. I thought I would sit for I was estimating 6 to 8 hours because I was like, it's going to take a while. It took 12. I was there for 12 hours. So I got some reading done. I read almost the entirety of the time that I was sitting. We took a couple of 10-15 minute breaks for snacks and whatnot, but sat for 12 hours. Got my skin scraped off. You know how it goes. So I got some reading done. The first thing that I finished, and if you follow me on Instagram, you probably watched my reactions because I was talking about it on stories, but I finished A Forbidden Alphabet by Stacey McEwen. I think is how you say that. This is the standard edition cover. This is my ARC from Saga Press. It is blue and it does have pretty sprayed edges. I pre-ordered the red copy from Walmart because I quite like the red. However, who decided that this should be not a sticker and just be part of the who approved this? I have complaints. Who do I write my strongly worded letter to? It has beautiful sprayed edges, and the Walmart and the standard edition do have different sprayed edges, so I recommend looking at them if you're wanting to get it. But I did finish this, and I absolutely loved it. Now, I cannot tell you if that is because I sat there for 3 hours and read it in one sitting, almost all of it. I think I was 20 pages into it when I started it, or if it was just that good, but I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. And this is it begins with two small children. They are 12 years old, and in this world, at 12 years old, you go to the capital city and you take a potion, and it reveals if you are going to be an artisan, someone who wields magic, or if you're going to be, I think they're called just crafters. They're just regular, I almost said peasants. They're just regular people who work in the mines or work farm life, that sort of thing. This is Patrick and Nina. And they get there, and when they get there, they're goofing off, they're having fun, they're exploring where they shouldn't be, and of course they discover a secret that would change the world if it got out. They split up. Patrick returns home, but Nina goes on to become an artisan, and she goes to school. Now from there, it moves very quickly. The chapters are short, and we watch her very quickly grow up. And as she grows up, she's facing dangers. She's carrying a secret, and there are some people that seem to know her secret, but they're leaving her be, but watching her. Now, it really kicks off when I think she's in her 20s. She ends up at her graduation ceremony. An attack happens, and the woman who was protecting her, watching over her, is killed, and Nina goes on the run because Nina has a very powerful and rare power, and she is afraid that she's going to get caught in this war that has kicked off. A rebellion has happened. Nina and Patrick, the secret they knew, has come out, and the regular folk are now rebelling against the artisans. It's a class war. A lot of the regular folk are trapped in mines, like coal mines, and they are starting to learn things about the artisans, and so a rebellion happens. Well, the rebels blow up the college at the graduation, and then from there we follow her as she runs both from the government and from the rebels. It doesn't keep, she's not able to keep doing that, and she ends up captured by the rebels. And lo and behold, surprising nobody, she meets Patrick there. And it is their story and the story of this rebellion. This does not quite look it, but this is a very Peaky Blinders style book. There is a very steampunk coal mining town feel to this. If you are from the South, like Tennessee, Virginia, or any country that has a mining community, this felt very real to some of those communities that I have been to or, existed around. And I enjoyed that in a historical sense. It felt very well researched. I really liked it. I thought it was fantastic. The characters, while not the most unique that I've ever read, were good. It was the gimmick of the story. It was the history and the world and the fantasy, and it felt like this was a strongly built fantasy world with a relationship in it. So I don't know that I would call it a romantic fantasy or a fantasy romance. Or a romantasy. I would call it a fantasy with a strong romance. I really, really liked it. The ending was diabolical. Just, ma'am. Diabolical. So I cannot wait for the second book, and I do recommend it if you like fantasy with a strong romantic element to it. Now, I read a lot of one series, so we're gonna save that for last. I read 3 other books for review. The next one I read was Savage Blooms by S.T. Gibson. I was very excited for this. As soon as I got the e-arc for this, I picked it up and read it. I don't want to say I was disappointed by this, but I didn't love this. This is a contemporary fantasy about Adam, whose grandfather has passed away, and his grandfather always told him stories of this manor house in Scotland that he lived in at one time. So he goes to Scotland to find out more. He wants to know more about this manor, more about his grandfather, who was his closest family member. He gets there and he meets Finley and Eileen, and he is traveling with his best friend Nicholas. So the 4 of them are in this manor. Adam's trying to learn about his grandfather, and meanwhile Eileen and Finley are up to something. They know something. There's something going on there. They rather quickly tell Adam that there are fae involved. There's fairies are real, and that the family that lives in this manor have long since held this treaty with the fae that there will always be someone in the manor house to keep the fae at bay, and when the family dies out, the fae are free to roam Scotland and lay waste, and they're not good fae. These are not the nice kind of fae, and they think Adam is important for whatever reason. So that is the bulk of the plot, and we get most of that in like the 30%, up to the 30% mark. Then from there to about 90% is just interpersonal relationships and smut. And then at the 90 to 95%, we get a tiny bit of plot and a big cliffhanger ending. I would compare this very much to a Katie Robert book. If you like Katie Robert, this is very similar in feel to that, but with S.T. Gibson flavor. So go in knowing that. I have been chasing the high of A Dowry of Blood since it was released, but we're just moving further away from it. While it's not a bad book, it is definitely not of that ilk. It is very much a smut-forward fantasy. So know that going in. There was a lot of skimming for me because I don't enjoy those scenes very much. But if you like Katie Roberts, if you enjoy something a little heavier on the relationships and whatnot, this is going to be one to look forward to. I don't think it comes out until October, but it looks like, I believe I saw it's going to be a nice hardback edition. So definitely recommend if you like that sort of a read. Let's see. Our next book that I read for review was Coffee Shop in an Alternate Universe by C.B. Lee. This one was very cute. This was another middle of the road read for me. It is a young adult story about 2 girls. One girl, what was their names? I can't even remember at this point. I think it was Brenda and Kat, maybe? They are in 2 different universes, and they come across each other at a coffee shop. They meet for the first time there at the coffee shop, and they kind of hit it off, and we end up following them as they try to date. All the while there is this overarching threat, sort of this plot in which Kat, if that is her name, I'm not for sure that it is because I've kind of already purged those files from my memory banks. She is the chosen one who is supposed to stop the magical surges that are happening in her universe. Brenda is from our universe. There is no magic. She's just a regular gal. But Kat is supposed to stop these magical events. And there is a ritual coming up that they want her to take part of, but her mother died in that and she doesn't know if she wants to do it. On and on and on. Basically, this, much like Savage Blooms, focused much more on the interpersonal. This is YA, so instead of, a lot of smut or what have you, this is going on a date, worrying about a prom dress, that sort of thing. All the while, we would occasionally get these very tense chapters of, oh no, there's a dragon that has come through this portal and is attacking regular day Los Angeles, or oh no, there's this order hunting down these people. So it was a very jarring book to read at times because we would go from very cozy, sweet, slow chapters to these very tense and I felt somewhat alarming chapters. And then we go right back into a slow, plotting chapter. So it wasn't for me per se, just because it was a young adult book, and I think if I had been younger, I would have appreciated what they were doing and going through more. It's a very good book. I think a younger reader would very much appreciate it and enjoy it. I wouldn't call it a cozy, just because the tension points, the pressure points of the book were much more intense than I think they needed to be at times. But it was good. If you have a younger reader who likes fantasy or is looking for something queer with some great representation of, I think one girl was Vietnamese and the other girl was maybe Korean or Chinese. They had some really interesting, representation. One of their friends was definitely Chinese, because there was a whole point where the prophecy was written in Chinese, but no one translated it correctly, which I thought was kind of funny. Also a little bit unbelievable. I feel like somebody would have translated it. Anyway, I'm poking a hole in it. It was fine. It was good. I wouldn't recommend it for an older reader who's probably going to be a little more critical. Maybe for a younger reader who's just in for a good time. It's way too long, I think. It's 400 pages. So know that going in. 400 pages, it didn't need to be that long. I think, very quickly, I don't know if I mentioned, okay, it says I mentioned it. So I did mention that I reread How to Defeat a Demon King in 10 Easy Steps. I still recommend that. So the series that I read, the whole series, we're at 12 minutes. I read almost all of Thousand Autumns. I did that. So what's going on with the Danmei is that my best friend, who also loves Danmei, she tends to reread the same series. I tend to sample series and then not finish them. We have decided to combine our powers, and we're reading them together. We're keeping each other accountable, and we're reading together. What has happened is that she is in the 5th book, and I am finishing the 4th book today. And it's been a week and a half, and we've almost finished a series. So we are truly powerful. But Thousand Autumns is about, as I talked about last week, a Taoist master. He's a grandmaster of his sect, is dueling another young initiate from my neighboring or opposing sect, and he is defeated rather alarmingly and unexpectedly and cast off the mountain. Now below them is a grandmaster of a demonic sect walking with his one of his disciples. They find him on the ground, badly injured, barely alive, and our grandmaster of the demonic sect says, I can play with this, I can have fun with it, let's take him and rehabilitate him. And so they do, and it is the relationship between these two a little bit, but primarily it is the politics and the war and the uprisings that are taking place between all the sects and the peoples of this country. It's fascinating. It's very fun. We have a lot of political machinations. We have a lot of emperors falling, there's coups, there's military groups taking over. We have people infighting, all that good stuff. And occasionally, because they're not always together, occasionally these two are together, and it is hilarious when they are. Because our demonic sect leader, this is him right here in the black, Yan Wuxi, is a black cat. He likes to cause every bit of chaos he humanly can and make Xinhua, our Taoist master here, very deeply uncomfortable at all times. It is so very funny. It is hilarious. If you've ever watched JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, that's what this series is, but it's Chinese Danmei. It's very much that. It feels like that in the way they're fighting, and there's always something over the top going on, but there's always some sort of a sense of humor to it too. Just, yes. And so I finished volume 1 while I was getting my tattoo, and then I read the 2nd volume, which looks like this, the next day, and then it took a couple of days to read volume 3 because it is closer to 500 pages. It looks like this, and I am currently halfway through volume 4, and I am absolutely loving these very much. Our next series we have already decided is going to be the Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, because that is Jessie's favorite series. She has reread that series multiple times, and I have not, and she wants to read it with me, so we're going to read that. And then I have convinced her, I think we're going to read the Ballad of Song and Wine? Sword and Wine. Ballad of Sword and Wine, of which I have read the first book, but not the rest of them. So that is everything that I have read. That's 15 minutes. Maybe I can go eat my salad now. I am currently reading, I'm trying to finish Deal with an Elf King. I started this on audio, and I really liked it on audio, but I've decided to just plow through and finish it physically, or maybe on the Kindle edition. I'm going to have to pick it up. I like this. It's kind of cozy. I quite like it. I didn't know if I liked Elise Kova, so this was a good trial run. She has a new book coming out this month that I really want to read, and that was I was trialing that with that book. I got the new Ancient Magus Bride, Volume 20. This is kicking off a new arc in the Ancient Magus Bride world, which I highly recommend these books if you like manga or anime, because there is an anime adaptation. If you like manga, I highly recommend Ancient Magus Bride. That is the only things I'm reading. I have got volume 4 on the go, and then those two I plan to finish 8,000 Autumns by next week. So I will come back with like a series review when I do. But that is it. I am going to go eat. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you have read anything that I have talked about. What are your thoughts? Are you going to read anything that I talked about? And I'll talk to you guys again next week. Thanks for watching again, y'all. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you then. Bye.